Hello everyone, got 5 dirty jokes for you today. So one day while on patrol, a police officer pulled over a car for speeding. He went up to the car and asked the driver to roll down her window. The first thing he noticed, besides the nice red sports car, was how hot the driver was. Blue eyes, blonde, the works. I've pulled you over for speeding, ma'am. Could I see your driver's license? What's a license? Replied the blonde, instantly giving away the fact that she was as dumb as a stump. It's usually in your wallet, replied the officer. After fumbling for a few minutes, the driver managed to find it. Now may I see your registration? Asked the cop. Registration, what's that? Asked the blonde. It's usually in your glove compartment, said the cop impatiently. After some more fumbling, she found the registration. I'll be back in a minute, said the cop and walked back to his car. The officer called into the dispatch to run a check on the woman's license and registration. After a few moments, the dispatcher came back. Boom, is this woman driving a red sports car? Yes, replied the officer. Is she a drop-dead gorgeous blonde? Asked the dispatcher. Yes, replied the cop. Here's what you do, said the dispatcher. Give her the stuff back and drop your pants. What? I can't do that. It's inappropriate, exclaimed the cop. Trust me. Just do it, said the dispatcher, a smile in his voice. So the cop goes back to the car, gives back the license and registration, and drops his pants, just as the dispatcher said. The blonde looks down and sighs. Oh no, not another breathalyzer. So an Irishman who had a little to drink is driving home from the city one night, and of course, his car is weaving violently all over the road. A cop pulls him over. So, says the cop to the driver, where have you been? Why, I've been to the pub, of course, slurs the drunk. Well, says the cop, it looks like you've had quite a few to drink this evening. I did all right, the drunk says with a smile. Did you know, says the cop, standing straight and folding his arms across his chest, that a few intersections back, your wife fell out of your car? Oh, thank heavens, sighs the drunk. For a minute there, I thought I'd gone deaf. So there was a young fellow who was quite inventive and was always trying out new things. One day he thought he'd see just how fast a bicycle could go before it became uncontrollable. He asked his friend, who owned an old Chevelle, if he could tie his bike to the bumper of his car to test his theory. His friend said, sure. So the young man tied his bike to the back of the car and said to his friend, I'll ring my bike bell once if I want you to go faster, twice if I want you to maintain speed, and repeatedly if I want you to slow down. With that, off they went. Things were going pretty well, with the car driver slowly speeding up to well over 60 miles per hour. The young fellow on the bike was handling the speed just fine. But all of a sudden, an orange Camaro came up beside them, and before you knew it, the fellow driving the Chevelle forgot all about the fellow on the bike and took to drag racing the Chevelle. A little further down the road sat Officer John in his police cruiser, radar gun at the ready. He heard the two cars before his radar flashed 105 mph. He called into headquarters on his radio. Hey, you guys aren't going to believe this, but there's a Camaro and a Chevelle racing out here on Highway 3, and there's a guy on a bike ringing his bell and waving his arms trying to pass them. So a man decides he wants to go fishing. Unfortunately, his favorite spot became illegal to fish in. Undeterred, He fishes for 2 hours, and at this point, he already has a bucket full of fish and he's still fishing. Out of nowhere, a cop comes in and tells him, "You know you can't fish here, right? It's illegal. I'm gonna have to arrest you." The man hides the pole and replies, "Oh no, those are my pet fish. I just come here every week or so, drop them in the pond, and once they're done swimming they jump back in and I go home." At this point the officer smirks. He knows he's lying, so he says, "Well then show me. If you can truly show me that they will do that, then I'll let you go." The man agrees and dumps the fish into the pond. A few minutes pass. "So when are the fish jumping back in the bucket?" asks the officer smugly. "What fish?" says the man. So a man is working out with a blonde nearby. He gets hot while doing his sets, so he takes off his shirt. The blonde winks and says, "Wow, you've got some nice pecs there." The man smirks and says, 100 pounds of pure dynamite, babe," and returns to his workout. A few minutes go by and he gets hotter, so he takes off his pants. The blonde winks again and says, "Wow, you've got some nice calves too." The man smiles and says, 100 pounds of pure dynamite, babe, and returns to his workout. After another few minutes he gets so hot that he takes off his underwear. With no hesitation, the blonde screams and runs away. The man chased her down and when he caught up to her, asked, "What was that all about? Why did you run away from me like that?" Blonde says, "I was afraid to be around all that dynamite when I saw how short the fuse was."